Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Feedback for All, providing consistent and effective feedback in any learning environment. My name is Jamie, and I'm really excited that you're here with us today. So to get started, we always start with some frequently asked questions. So will there be a recording of this webinar? Yes, there will be. And you'll be able to find that right down there at vaei.vai.org. But you'll also get it through the email that I will be sending to you as a follow-up tomorrow. And also there is in that follow-up email, you will also get a link to our resources. This is also linked right now in the control panel under handouts. So you can access this right away. Everything that you find in the you hear and find in the webinar today will be listed there, as well as and also some extras, some good article reads that connect to the topic we're discussing, which is feedback. You can also access them through the bit.ly. So there's lots of ways to find the resource page that we'll be discussing today. And then also joining us is Robin. Robin is here for our tech help, and she'll also be helping with the polls that we'll be taking today.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Robin. And with that, we will jump in. But before we do, we want to talk about our sponsor today. Our sponsor is Blue Apple, and Blue Apple are PBL units that engage students, teach the content, and make the world a better place. All these projects include a plan on how to carry out the project along with the supplies. We connect you with real-world experts, also cross-curricular content and collaboration options, along with embedded professional development. So if you are interested in learning more and getting a 20% discount because you're joining us today, use the code webinar20 at blueappleteacher.org. And with that, we'll jump into our agenda. So we're going to talk today why feedback is so important. We'll touch on that in the beginning because you guys probably already know the impacts that feedback can have. But mostly today, we're going to be talking about the how. How do we deliver effective feedback to our students? And so talking to the why, you know, there's a lot of good research out there that talks about the power of feedback. And one good book that's a good go-to is from John Hattie. And in the book called Visible Learning Feedback, he states, the most powerful single modification that enhances achievement is feedback. And as teachers, we know how powerful good feedback can be. So if you haven't checked out that book, it's a great one to use as a resource for this topic. We're going to talk today, we're going to use a garden analogy to talk about feedback. And we're going to use the idea of like what it takes to build a thriving ecosystem that we often find with gardens. And so when we talk about the we want to start by talking about the culture and the mindset. So that serves as the soil, and it's the foundation from which all things can grow. So we want to have a really fertile soil to get that growth, to give that growth a foundation to grow upon. And then the seeds are the actual feedback. So it's that start to that successful product. You need to plant the seeds. And then what really makes your garden thrive is the follow through. So those are the essentials that nurture the development of our ecosystem. We're going to kind of use that structure to go about our webinar today. So first, talking about culture and mindset strategies. The one thing I like to start with is feature failures. Now, you probably noticed something is wrong up there, and it's the spelling. And of course, we want to model by doing. So we want to make intentional mistakes, but also not intentional mistakes. But this was an intentional mistake made. And when we do this, we want to highlight them. We want to point them out. And we want to see that we're not afraid to make mistakes. And we want to do this in front of our students. It really helps them understand that that mistakes can be a really positive thing from which growth happens. So walk through how you solved it and show them what you learned from it. So we know that when two vowels go walking, the first one does the talking. So we can talk through about that in our spelling, and then we can make those necessary fixes to our title. We know that it is feature failures. So again, model by doing, and highlight it, walk through how you solved it, and show what you've learned from it. Really, really important. Also, another strategy to use in building that culture and that mindset is the I tried, I failed, I learned. So just making it a habit to try something new every month, and sharing those efforts with your students and also what you learned. So this is a picture that my coworker shared with us. She was golfing and got caught in the weeds, but just telling students that yes, this happens, but what did I do about it? And we could see there that she's trying to get it out. Again, a great way to model a mistake or failure and talk about how you overcame that. And then again, we see all these beautiful, cool things on Pinterest, like the cool cakes. And then we've tried them out ourselves and they never look that way. So another example of how we can kind of show, you know, what it should have been maybe and what it actually was. And just, again, emphasizing that mistakes happen and it's what you learn from them mistakes, those mistakes that really matter. Speaking of mistakes, this example is called My Wonderful Mistake, and it's really getting students to understand that they need to find those moments where a mistake was made and figure out how to overcome it. So just having students record and reflect on their wonderful mistakes and also what they learned from them. They can use a journal for this. Here's an example. It's just what they accomplished from the task, what mistakes were made, what they learned from those mistakes, and then what those next steps, what do they need to do next? This is also a great strategy to use as an exit slip at the end of a lesson as students reflect upon the lesson or the project or the activity as a whole. And then another way to kind of focus on mistakes is the mistake of the week. So having students nominate one mistake that really helped the class understand something more clearly. Collecting all of those favorites and then displaying them on a bulletin board at school, or maybe you're doing it virtually through Google Classroom. Padlet is another great tool for this as well. So, but the point of this is just featuring those mistakes, making it known the mistakes are okay, and viewing it as a positive thing. Also changing the conversation. So we're going to watch this little video, and we know that it's important to praise effort over ability. So this is a teacher, dad, who is going to model this for us. So first he's going to praise his daughter's ability, and we're going to watch that really quickly here.
Okay, Reese, can you count backwards from 10 for me?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You got them all right, 100% correct. I always knew you were a little mathematician. Now you need to go to your kindergarten teacher and show you how smart you are in math.
A squirrel.
So again, right, she noticed a squirrel, so she wasn't really taking in the feedback that her dad was giving her. But if we focus on praising effort, we might find more success. And here's an example of that.
Okay, Reese, can you count backwards from 10?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Wow. Wow, Reese, you've obviously been practicing your numbers because you've improved so much. You're going to learn so much more in math this year in kindergarten if you keep working so hard at it.
Thanks, Dad.
And again, that just goes to show not only is it adorable, but it also shows you that she was actually listening and she seemed to take in that information a little better when her dad was praising her effort over her ability. So just changing that conversation. Another thing is the impossible challenge. So this is a fun one to do with students to build perseverance. And so you pose an impossible challenge and have students struggle through it. So things like building a two-sided polygon. Can they do it? Write a complete sentence that doesn't have a subject. Draw a quadrilateral that can't be split with a straight line segment to form two individual triangles, or build a perpetual motion machine. Again, it's not, these challenges don't necessarily have to build student understanding of the proof. It's more that you're giving them a forum in which to explore the idea of perseverance. So we call that one the impossible challenge, a great strategy to try it with your students. Now, with that, I am curious, and Robin is going to launch a poll for us. And the question that I'm wondering about is, which of these culture and mindset strategies are you excited to try out with your students? Go ahead and answer that now. Is it the I tried, I failed, I learned, my wonderful mistake, the mistake of the week, change the conversation, or the impossible challenge? Feel free to choose as many as you wish. All right, and Robin, you could close that down when it seems like most have answered.
All righty. Closing it down. So it looks like the highest percentage was 47% for change the conversation, followed by at 32% we have I tried, I failed, I learned, and then my wonderful mistake. And then mistake of the week is next at 21%, followed by the impossible challenge at 16%.
Awesome. Thanks, Robin, and thanks for answering. We have a couple of more of those coming up. So now we're going to jump into planting the seed. Okay, these are those feedback strategies, and we're going to jump into a few examples of those. We're going to start with just making sure that we understand the importance of delivering feedback that is timely, specific, and actionable. So when we think about timely, we often think that it has to be timely means immediate, but it doesn't always have to mean that. There's two things that we depend upon. First of all, the level of the student. If your student is struggling, then we want to give them that feedback immediately because we know they probably can't go further until they get the feedback from you that they need. But for a more advanced and higher level learners, that feedback can be delayed, and that's okay because we know that they probably have some ways to work through solving those problems before you have to address them with them. Also, the level of learning. So is it surface level learning? Then we should probably give that feedback immediately. If it's deeper level learning, it's good to wait and delay that feedback. So just two different things to think about when we're thinking about delivering. It's the level of the student and the level of learning. And then also making it specific and actionable. So this is it's really important to focus on the qualities of the work instead of focusing on the student. We know that grades and comments with no focus on improvement are not actionable, and we want to make sure that we're giving them actionable feedback, something that they can work with. And then also giving them time to fix it up. We know that in order to fix it, they need the time. So just allowing them that space to make those changes to improve upon their work. Also focusing on, we're talking about focusing on the qualities of the work and not the person. It's nice to kind of do this. We call this examples and non-examples. So I want you just to think for a moment. Here are 5 examples of maybe it is specific and actionable feedback, maybe it's not. Just look at these 5 that we have listed here and think, is it specific and actionable or is it not? And I'll read those out loud. You didn't put your best effort into this. Your lead could do a better job of capturing the reader's attention. You are an incredible writer. Including more transition words will help show the connections between your ideas. And I love the rich evidence used to support your claim. So if you had to pick from there, which of them would you say is specific and actionable? There's more than one. Give you a minute to think. And hopefully this is what you determine. So the ones in green are the ones that are specific and actionable, and the ones in red are not. So your lead could do a better job of capturing the reader's attention. We know that's very specific and something that the reader could act upon. Then they can make it, they could then take that and do a better job of capturing the reader's attention. Also including more transition words. We know that's another specific and actionable one. And then I love the rich evidence used to support your claim. So we know both of those are great ways to kind of give students feedback that they can use. And then the next thing we want to talk about is critical thinking assessment strategies. Now, these are just kind of creative ways to make the whole idea of getting a grade kind of fun. So this one is called the find and fix. So by saying something like, you've got 25 out of 27 correct, can you find the 2 that are incorrect and fix them? So you give them the score at the top, but you don't circle the ones that are incorrect. And having the student go through and really find the ones that they didn't get right, analyzing it, and then having them fix it. And then if you have room in your grading procedures to allow that new grade to be had, give them that grade. It really helps show them that you value their input, and they're probably going to be more apt to making to providing that for you in the future. And the next one is just to mismark the test. And so this is like after you give students a test and you've scored it, just by saying, I marked 3 questions wrong that are actually right, find them to get full credit. And you're kind of forcing them to, think critically about the work they did and find those errors. A similar like real life situation is if you're out to a restaurant and you're eating, if you get charged more than what you actually think you should have spent, you're probably not just going to hand over your credit card and just say, oh, well. You're probably going to look at it and say, oh, yeah, this meal was this much and this drink was this much. And so it kind of shows students not to settle for what's given to them. And I think that's just a really good life skill. And this strategy kind of helps you get there. And then finally, develop a protocol. So here's one thing that I think all of us can agree upon is that feedback can be a timely process. And when I say timely in this instance, I mean like it can take a lot of time. One way to kind of prevent that is just to have a protocol that works and allows you to provide that feedback in a very quick and effective way. So we're going to go through a few protocols that might work in your classroom. So this first one is called the ABC. So it's agree with, build upon, and challenge you to do. So just agree with something that they have in their work, find a way for them to build upon that work, and then challenge them with something, whether it's taking it and the next step further, or maybe it's challenging them to find something else that they can improve upon in their work. But that one's called the ABC protocol. There's also the PEN protocol, which is just positively identifying a strength, explicitly stating what needs to be improved, and then identifying those next steps that the student needs to take to lead to success. And so again, it's all about being quick and effective, and it's also all about being similar. And when I say that, what I'm getting at is that what you do for one student, you're also doing for another. And while that looks differently, the path you take to get there is a similar path, and that's really important as we're looking at giving feedback. And then my very favorite one is the SNU. And I always just like saying what's SNU. You guys got that or not? But the SNU protocol is a great one that we use in our professional development with teachers. And when they're developing their own PBL unit or project they want to work with in their class, we have them go through this feedback protocol. And what we do is we have them make a suggestion on someone else's work, a way to improve it. And then make a noticing. What is something that they notice about the work they did? And then also, what is something they enjoy or that really excited them? Something, again, that's putting the positive spin on it, right? Because you always want to give them something positive in return as well. And then what's a wondering that you have? So what is something that you wonder about their work? Again, a really quick way to give your feedback to your students' work. And one just little reminder as you're looking at feedback, and thinking about the garden, weed your feedback. It's really important that if it's not useful, it's useless, right? And that sounds pretty straightforward, but it's true. Really, when we talk about it being timely and effective, we really want to get to the fact that it's just the meat of the matter. What is it that really matters and what are the steps that they need to take to make that improvement? So if it doesn't improve upon and it's not actionable, then get rid of it. And these might not be gardening tools, but they are tech tools for feedback, and some that you guys are probably familiar with, especially living in the world that we are living in right now. Google Docs, a great resource that allows you to give immediate feedback to your students' work. Flipgrid and Seesaw, really great, especially for younger learners, because they can you can record and they can record as well. And then this new one that I just recently discovered called Jamboard, which is a whiteboard. And it allows for students and you to have basically have a whiteboard, but it's live. So everything that you do and they do, it's happening at the same time. So you think about all the wonderful ways that this can be utilized with work and by providing feedback. So if a student does something and you want to give them that immediate feedback, you can just simply write it on the whiteboard that they see as well. This is a Google Suites product, but if you're a Google Classroom teacher, check it out. Really, really cool. And now I'm curious for our next poll here. Which of these areas of feedback are you most interested in trying out in your classroom? Is it the TSA feedback, critical thinking assessment strategies, developing a protocol for giving that feedback, or the tech tools that you can use in any learning environment? And Robin, whenever you think that our responses are in, we could reveal those.
All right. So it looks like develop a protocol is number one at 53%. Followed closely by critical thinking assessment strategies at 47%. Then we have tech tools for feedback at 29% and TSA feedback at 6%.
Awesome. Thanks, Robin. And again, all of these are available for you in that HyperDoc that you have access to. Now we're going to talk about those essentials, like the water and the sun that help our garden grow. And they're the ones that cultivate the growth and development. So we call these follow-through strategies. So it's more, if we planted the seed in good soil, that's not enough. We need to give that garden something to cultivate that growth. And this is what truly makes, this is what truly makes feedback useful is what you're doing after you've provided that feedback. So when we look at that, one way to kind of organize it is through something we call chart it out. And I know I used to do this in my classroom, and one thing that this really helped with is by me being very intentional with how I was giving feedback and who I was giving it to. So what I would do is I would just place my students' names on a calendar, and I would just make sure that at the very minimum I got to those one or two students on that day. Another way to and just a way to look at this is you could do this for scheduling those initial feedback meetings, but also I'm thinking of this more in a follow-up way. So they already know the feedback that they have to implement. Now you're meeting with them to see their progress, to check on their progress. Another thing to do is have students sign up for these conferences with you, these follow-up conferences. This gives them a sense of ownership over the process, and it allows them to gauge their time. So that time management piece plays in here, because there's, if they are given their goal on Monday, maybe they think it's going to take them till Friday to implement that. And so you give them that time, and they sign up, and then you put that on your calendar for that day. So a great way to be intentional with that follow through. Another way is through post-it check-ins. And let's say just prior to your follow-up meetings with your students, you leave them a post-it note a day or two out. That basically just reminds them of what it is that you'll be looking for. So if you want them to find the theme of the story, maybe that's what you write on there. Just remember to find the theme of the story, and maybe putting a positive spin on that and saying, I'm excited to hear about how you've implemented theme into your story. So just different ways to leave them a little note. It's not only is it showing that you are going to value what they have to say, but it shows them that you also value what they have to say. So just a great way to kind of follow through the feedback. Also, evaluation tools. So self-evaluation is really powerful, can be really powerful. So by allowing students to evaluate their work and their progress, it gives you a good insight as a teacher on and how they're gauging themselves in their work. Another way to look at this is through a co-evaluation process, where the students assess their work and then you assess their work, and then you guys sit down together and you merge your ideas together and you have a good solid discussion on the process and the product. And the important thing with this is it also gives students a sense of that whole idea of value, right? And you're showing them, if you're taking the information that they say and you're using it, maybe it alters what you have written down because the discussion you had actually made you think something else, and vice versa. So just really using that time to co-evaluate together really shows students that you have care and concern for their work and you care about their progress. And then finally, SMART goals. So setting SMART goals. Now, some of us may be familiar with this. I know this is something that my own kids use in school, but these are goals that students set for themselves that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and timely. So students are asked questions like, what exactly will you do? How will you know if you meet your goal? What steps are you going to take to reach your goal? And what about your goal makes it important to you? And then also, when do you want to complete your goal? So if students go through these steps to set a goal for themselves, really you just kind of sit back as the facilitator, and really the heavy lifting is on them. So they're setting the goals and you are kind of just facilitating that with by checking in and seeing if they're actually accomplishing each part of those goals. So again, a great way to put the reins in the students' hands, and it also allows you to monitor how they feel they're coming along on their goal. So the last goal that we have today is which of these follow-through strategies are you most interested in trying out in your classroom? Go ahead and select one or more of the following. It's the charted out, the post-it check-ins, the self-evaluations, co-evaluations, or the SMART goals.
So the results. So it looks like, okay, so co-evaluations leads the charge at 44%. And then we have self-evaluations and charted out at 38%. And then post-it check-ins and SMART goals are both at 25%.
Awesome. Great, and we'll keep on plugging along here. And I just want to say, again, all of this is in that hyperdoc that you have access to now, but you'll also be getting a follow-up email from me. But with that, I want to share with you, if you've liked what you've seen and heard today, tell your administrator about us and bring us to your school. We can deliver PD in person or virtually. We have this great offering. It's Flex PD that's transformative, customizable, affordable, all those things that you guys need as teachers. So, and we can come to you with any topic that you need addressed. So whether it's project-based learning, which happens to be one of our favorites, inquiry-based instruction, collaboration and communication, creative and critical thinking, all of these things that you see here, plus so many more, are all available if you go to blueappleteacher.org/FlexPD. Also, if there's something that you don't see there that you're like, oh man, our district is really trying to focus in on this, let us know, because I promise we have something to suit your needs. And if we don't have it, the cool thing about our small organization is that we will create it for you. So please reach out and let us know if there's any way that we can help you with any of your professional development needs. And then also, please join us for our next webinar called Got Grit, helping students develop a growth mindset to thrive in a topsy-turvy world. This will be brought to you in November. You can go ahead and sign up for that at the link you see there. And I will also put that link in the email that you guys will be receiving from me tomorrow. And I always like to end on a really good note. So I want to give away a free Blue Apple project. So if you share with me a way in which you are providing feedback to your students, I will pick one of you and I will send you your very own Blue Apple project. You will get to pick it out yourself. But I am just curious about those wonderful things that you guys are doing in your classrooms each and every day. It's because of the work that you're doing that keeps us doing the work that we're doing. So I can't thank you enough for your day-to-day work with your students. And I'm curious, I really want to know what you're doing in your classroom to provide feedback for your students. So email me at jamie.mcpherson@vaei.org. And then remember too about that 20% off your next project. So if you use code webinar20 and you go to blueappleteacher.org, you can save 20% on a project. So send me all of your cool feedback ideas and I'll be picking one of you and getting in contact with you and sending you out your very own Blue Apple project. And with that, I want to say thank you. Again, here is the link to that handy hyperdoc that has all the information from today. If you have any questions or wonderings, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, my email, jamie.mcpherson@vaei.org. I look forward to hearing about your feedback strategies. And again, please don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything at all. Thank you.